Alright, now you've seen the well L96 together when you take a look at our firing report, but this is how you're going to see it when you first open the box. It comes in several pieces. You've got the plastic or polymer frame, whichever you prefer to call it. You've got the barrel, trigger, and bolt assembly, and of course the hop-up, which we'll get to in a minute. The sight, or the scope rather, the sling, the bipod, and of course the magazine. Now, the only tools that you're going to need are right here. These two Allen wrenches are included, and it wouldn't hurt to have a flathead screwdriver handy as well. It's not terribly difficult to put this together, and bear in mind that all the screws that you need are actually included already in the frame. You'll notice there are two screw holes, and those Allen screws are already preset in there to lock in to the bolt, trigger, barrel assembly at critical points. Okay, now let's put this together. Everything fits together very nicely, but be gentle all the same. Everything seats pretty well. You really don't have to do anything in terms of pushing or pulling or fitting something. Now the trick is line up the Allen screws properly. Put that Allen wrench in there, and of course you'll feel it when it locks in. My recommendation is don't clamp it down all the way until you've got both of the screws set into the barrel assembly. You don't want to cause torquing or any sort of undue wear and tear on the gun at this early stage. So just zap that in there. There's really only one way to put the screw in, so you shouldn't have any trouble with it. Again, just give it a little bit of pressure. Kind of go back and forth on it, torquing it down evenly as you go, kind of like changing a tire. Never want to crank all of the lug nuts down without going in the proper order. Alright, so once that's tightened, you're really not going to have to worry about that again. And this Allen wrench will only really come into play for one other adjustment, and I'll get to that in just a few minutes. But now you can see it looks basically the way it's going to look from now on. You have to attach the scope and the bipod, of course the sling if you want, put in the magazine, and you can adjust the cheek plate. That's where that Allen wrench comes in. But we'll set this up first. So first, because it's the easiest, we're going to put on the bipod. This is a very simple attachment. You just take the shaft of the bipod, push it in until it clicks. That's it. If for some reason you wanted to take off the bipod, you would just push downward, or rather into the frame on this little release. It doesn't have a lot of play. It can't be more than 1/4 of an inch, and it just pops right off. Going in, like we said earlier, it's very easy. So we're going to set this up. Now, as we mentioned in the firing report, the bipod feet release mechanisms are a little tricky. These tabs, first of all, they have to be screwed in almost all the way in order to work, and they're actually going to be pushing this way, towards the foot. So you're going to just push down on that tab, and then pop it in. It locks in pretty well. Of course, you want to do the same here. Remember, towards the feet. Next big thing is probably going to be your scope. Most people want to see how it looks with the scope. The actual claw attachments, we went ahead and put this on for you just to save some time. Again, you're going to use some Allen wrenches included, this little guy here actually, to attach the scope to the claw mounts. And you can see that's fairly straightforward. Putting it on again, also not a big deal. They give you these handy knobs here that you can use to just, again, torque it down without having to use a screwdriver. If you want, you can. Be sure not to strip anything though. And of course, if for some reason you don't want the scope, or that scope, take it off easily as well. So now you've got the general look of this airsoft gun. They give you a sling. We have mixed feelings on it. It's free, and like most things free, they might not be of the highest quality, though we have seen worse. Our only concern is that this is a fairly heavy gun. It comes in at just about a little over 9 pounds. You're jerking this through the woods, and it might snag something. These things, they might break, so heads up. But they do attach pretty easily. You see the points here on this gun. Let me just move it here. This is one of the attachment points. There's a mirror attachment point on the other side. Now that we're back here, let's take a look at this cheek rest here. Now the buttstock, we were not able to adjust. As far as we can tell, it's just the cheek rest. And you'll know that because there are two large Allen screws there versus obviously the others, which are much smaller. And those, of course, are for disassembling the entire gun, which we don't recommend. So, not a lot of force is needed. And just pop these off here. You're probably going to want to take them all the way out. And once you've done that, you can see, first of all, it'll come right out. But you can see that you could, if you wanted to, excuse me, you could get more optimal firing position on this by simply adjusting that cheek pad. And by screwing in the Allen wrenches, again, you're just applying force against those two little feet that you saw in there. And now you're ready. You got a nice elevated cheek rest, you got a good view of the scope. Okay. Now we're going to show you how the action works. Now you'll notice this is the safety right here. Of course, best safety is always between your shoulders, but failing that, we got this. Push it forward to make it hot, pull it back to put it on safe. Pretty simple, and it works well. The bolt action itself is just plain fun. You're going to have a lot of fun doing that. Notice too, what I just did, the gun was actually already cocked, though there's no ammunition in it. The firing action, I'm going to show you again, there's no ammunition in this. Oops. Again, when shooting, make sure the safety's off. So, I'm going to show you the actual force required. Going up, piece of cake. Coming back, you're going to want to brace the butt of the gun against your shoulder pretty well. That's the easiest way of doing things. Just pull on back. You'll hear the click. Push it back. Again, piece of cake. Be careful, of course, because if you do what I did the first time, that, with the magazine and ammo in the clip, you're going to double feed. So, as far as we can tell, it won't destroy the barrel, but just generally not a good thing to do, plus accuracy and velocity will be off. So getting the magazine in, let's take a look at this. I'm going to show you the magazine well, get the sling out of the way. This is what it looks like, and you can see in here 2 points of interest. You've got the BB feeding portion there, which is that silver sort of circle right there, and just above it, probably kind of hard to see, actually, I'm sorry, no, it's actually forward of the lever, forward towards the barrel of the lever. That's where your hop-up adjustment is. You're going to need an Allen wrench for it. So this means it's not going to be the easiest thing to do, especially when you're taking fire. But the Allen wrench is supplied. You just pop it in here. It's pretty simple too. They show you. It's, again, well, getting it in there is not the simple part, but once you've got it in there, it's left, as they say, for normal, or right, clockwise, for more hop-up. So you get the idea there. The magazine fits in pretty well, but this is an important aspect of this review. You need to hear the positive click. If you don't hear that, and the magazine can stay in there without that, your BBs will not fire either very accurately or very far, and in some cases might just roll out the barrel. So if you see that, make sure your magazine is seated properly. Alright, again, shooting, pretty easy to do. Remember, we are in live fire mode, so of course always use common sense and safety. Now right there, remember, we had already cocked it before loading the gun, which meant that the force required on the bolt was virtually negligible. We were just moving the bolt back and forth. But we did cycle a BB in, and it is ready to fire at this point. And you'll see, if you take a look at our firing report, you'll see that it's somewhat hit or miss with the accuracy. It's not a nail driver all the time, but sometimes you're going to get some great hits, and you're going to amaze yourself. All in all, we have a lot of fun with this gun. It cost us $130. We got it from airsplat.com, and we're impressed. We think it's worth the money. If you want a good bolt-action sniper rifle with a lot of accessories and a fairly high metal count, by the way. This is all metal here, metal bipod, metal trigger assembly, scope of course is metal. Frame is plastic though. If you want a good, reasonably qualitative sniper rifle at a good price with a lot of accessories, go ahead, spend the money. It's, in our eyes, worth it. Just remember, have fun, but be safe doing it.